Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger, 103.3 FM. Joining us now on the First Choice Personnel Hotline, a champion, the Birmingham Stallions head coach, inaugural USFL champion, Skip Holtz joins us. Coach, what's up, brother?
Good afternoon, Patrick. How are you doing today?
I'm not as good as you. I haven't won any titles anytime recently, so, Hey,
that was a pretty special trip.
Yeah, tell us about the kind of the season as a whole. Obviously we've covered you for a long time over at Tech, and we kind of knew how that all went down, and then you end up getting over to Birmingham, and obviously ultimately leading them to a title. What's this whole journey been like over the last year plus?
You know what? It's been just that. It's been a journey. It's been an adventure, and we got our invitation to leave Ruston there in December. Got this phone call from the USFL. Had an opportunity to sit down and talk with them. And Fox, NBC. Oh, am I still there?
Yeah, you got you. You just said you talked to the USFL folks.
Yep, talked to the people at Fox and USFL, and just got really impressed with the product and what they were putting together. And then all of a sudden in February we drafted our team. In March we reported to Birmingham, and in April we started playing games, and I wasn't real sure what we had until we started playing. And just watching a group of men come together that were eager to be there, everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. It was really it was an incredible journey, and one of my more rewarding years in coaching than what I've ever been through. So we were blessed and had an opportunity to win a couple games, and then went up to Canton and just got involved with the playoffs there with the Pro Hall of Fame at Tom Benson Stadium, and the whole experience was just it was first class all the way, and everything that the USFL has done.
When you took that initial call, was there any skepticism or reluctance because we saw what happened to the old XFL, the old AAF? Was there any reluctance at all on your part because of some of those other leagues that have struggled?
Well, when you sat down and looked at the backing, and you sit down and talk with Eric Shanks with NBC, and just his commitment to it and what they were trying to do and how they were trying to do it, and then Brian Woods, who's been involved with so many of these spring leagues, and what were some of the downfalls of those leagues, and what they were going to do to prevent that and make sure it didn't happen here. To have people like Moose Johnston, who, from a player standpoint, who played for all those years with the Dallas Cowboys, to have his involvement with it. Just when you look at everything that they were putting together, the commitment to it, and I think the commitment with Fox and NBC, and then some of the new rules to make the game more exciting, the way they did the television, the microphones, to make it more interactive, make it fan-friendly. I just thought it was first class all the way in everything they did. And the more I talked to them, the more excited I got. And what an unbelievable opportunity, because had I stayed at Louisiana Tech, I don't know that offer would have come to me. Had I been at Louisiana Tech, I wouldn't have left under the conditions of the year that we had and losing all the close games that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know what? One man's trash is another man's treasure. And you know what? God closes one door and opens another. And so for us, we were just truly blessed to have this opportunity and had one of my most enjoyable years of coaching.
We'll move off of this here after this question, but I can hear the frustration in your voice about how it all ended at Tech. And I've got to imagine, I'm sitting there looking at it, and I texted you right after it happened. I thought you got a raw deal by the Tech guys. And I sit there and think you had such a great string of games. You won all the bowl games in a row. Everything that you were doing, 1 year to me doesn't erase all of that. I've got to imagine from a not even just as a coach, but just as a man, as a person, that's got to be really frustrating to go through something like that.
It's part of the business. I mean, everybody has said this is a great profession, but it's a crappy business.
Yeah.
The rewards of being around these players and watching them grow and develop and achieve goals and things like that is incredibly rewarding. But yeah, there's a business aspect of it too. And when you say it's not a frustration from what happened there, it really, I don't look back at Louisiana Tech with any regret. I feel like we had huge success there. We left it better than we found it, and we went there and we tried to do our best every day. And the ball doesn't go through the uprights, and you're a bum, and the ball goes through the uprights, and you're loved. I mean, that's the nature of this business a little bit, but it's not. I had 9 wonderful years, made lifelong friends in my time in Louisiana. Absolutely would not trade it for anything on the planet. I love that experience. And it's not about, raw deal and I got done wrong. You know what? They made their decision, and they've got the obligation to put in place the guy that they feel is the best person to lead them moving into the future. And they didn't feel like it was me, and that's why I made the comment. That's okay. I mean, there's another opportunity somewhere, and you're going to go and you're going to put the same effort into that opportunity that you had with Tech. The only thing I hated about my departure from Tech was going out on a losing note. I would have loved to have had the opportunity to right that ship. I would have loved to have the opportunity to come back and to win a championship, but it didn't happen that way. And so, you know what, you move on. Like I said, God opens another door, and the door that he opened for us in professional football was one that I never saw myself making that move. I always said I love the college game. I love the development, these young men that come into your program at 17 years old. A lot's been said about my relationship with Jamar as we had the opportunity to get rejoined in this new league. But I recruited Jamar when he was 17 years old. He was in our program for 5 years. I watched him make mistakes. He had to be disciplined at times. And yet to see him sit on a podium last week in a huge press conference and talk about some of the mistakes he made and how he owned them and said, you know what, they made me a better person. I mean, this is about hoisting the trophy is awesome. And that is obviously the destination that we went into when we set these goals in January, when we started to move forward. But it's the journey and the relationships you make and the people you make and the lives you influence that makes the journey rewarding. Because after we lifted the trophy, it's in the record book. That's over. And if that's all you live for, then it's empty. But the relationships we made with those 50 young men that were on that roster, the relationships they made with each other, are relationships that will last us a lifetime. And so that's the thing I always loved about college, is having the opportunity to be with people for 5 years. But some of that's leaving now with NIL and with the way the transfer portals work. And they come in, they have a good year, they're getting recruited by a bigger school, they're going to move up conferences. And when I look back at so many of the great players we had at Louisiana Tech, when you look at the Vernon Butlers and the Jalen Ferguson, God rest his soul, of what just happened, and all the great players that went through there that had an opportunity to move on, in today's game, they're there as freshmen, and many of them turned down Power 5 opportunities. Well, today, financially, you can't turn those financial opportunities down because they're so rewarding financially that you have to take them. And then if a player does come to you and has a great freshman year, he's in the portal looking for a bigger NIL. It's just a different game than it was 35 years ago when I signed up for it. But I have nothing but fond memories of Louisiana Tech and the relationships we built there, the players whose lives we had an opportunity to influence. My daughter's a graduate of Louisiana Tech. I absolutely loved our time there and have incredible memories of that place. But excited that we found a way that another door was open for us, and one that I probably wouldn't have taken on my own nor walked into if I was still at Tech. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity and very grateful for the chance to coach in the USFL, and that somebody there said, you know what, this is the type of guy we want. And for that, I'm very grateful.
Talking to Skip Holtz, the head coach of the USFL champion Birmingham Stallions, on the First Choice Personnel Hotline. Coach, let's talk about this Stallions team, because you basically go from NIL and transfer portal to, hey, we're just doing this stuff as a business now. It's all transactional now. And so you kind of put your roster together. Did you have any indication when you were first assembling this roster that a season like the one you had was in the offing, that it was possible to not only go through basically undefeated, then turn around and win the championship. Did you feel like that was possible when you were initially putting this roster together?
Well, I would be lying if I said, "Oh, I knew this was going to happen."
Right.
I would be lying if I said it. My crystal ball told me. But one of the things that we did was we flew the whole staff. Once the staff got put together, down to Florida, and we sat down and went through the draft, and we went through position by position and ranked the players like 1 to 20 that we would love to have. And then when we left Florida, after we watched them all on film and put together our draft board, then we spent about a week and we called them all. And we got to know the players and the personalities and who they were and what was their why and why they wanted to play the game. And one of the things I loved about this league was everybody, when you leave college and you're not in the NFL, you don't really have a place to play. These young men were eager. I can't tell you the number of players that cried when we drafted them, because they just wanted the opportunity to play again. You look at Scooby Wright, who was all everything at Arizona, won pretty much every defensive award you can win in the Pac-10, and all of a sudden he's out of football for 2 years and has the chance to play it again. And you sit down and you talk to him and you hear his passion and his love of the game and why he wants to play. I mean, he goes from a guy that's on your board to a guy that's on the top of your board.
And then he ends up as the guy who wins the game for you.
Exactly,
the championship.
With the interception,
yeah.
6, and just and him and a guy like Bo Scarborough, who played at Alabama and won 2 national championships, and Victor Bolden out in Oregon, who was one of the best players in the Pac-10 that year. I mean, the roster that you put together and the caliber of players that you've had at your disposal or that are available that want to continue to play the game, that was the biggest joy for me. And then watching their dreams come to fruition and watch them come together as a team and watching the personalities gel and watching the way they played unselfish together, that was the biggest reward for me. But once we went through about 3 or 4 games, that's when it was like, we set the lofty goals and we wanted to win the championship, but you really didn't know what you had. You didn't know how were they going to handle adversity. How were they going to play when we were down 7 in the fourth quarter? How were they going to play when we were up 3 and needed to stop to win the game? But yet, the bigger the game got, the more focused and intense and together that team became. And that was one of the reasons that we were able to go 11-1 and win the championship, was because a group of guys that have incredible character and incredible leadership really came together. They took the bull by the horns. It wasn't all offense. We had to win some games 10-9 this year, and it wasn't all defense. We had to win the championship 33-30. So it was a combination of when their back was up against the wall, somebody stood up and made a play. And I'm just really proud of what these guys were able to accomplish, and to see the joy in the locker room, the champagne showers and the cigars, and just the overall joy. I know a lot of these guys are going to get an opportunity in an NFL camp, and I'm certainly hopeful for them that they can make it, because that's ultimately their dream. But this was one of my more rewarding years in college, just to see the personalities come together in March.
Talking to Skip Holtz. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and here we are 4 months later hoisting the trophy. It was pretty incredible adventure we went through.
Skip Holtz, head coach of the champion Birmingham Stallions, joining us on the First Choice Personnel Hotline. You obviously had adversity during the game, and you mentioned, hey, how do we respond to that first adversity? You obviously had some throughout the course of the season. You get to the championship game, and Jamar Smith gets injured. In comes Alex Magoo. He promptly throws an interception, and they had a really nice bit of audio there with you talking to him on the sidelines. He's obviously very frustrated with himself,
right.
And you're like, hey, look, we're going to win the game. Just relax. I promise you we're going to get it back. And then he comes back and throws a big touchdown later in the ball game. Do you like the aspect of us being able to kind of see into some of that and kind of know what's going on there? Or would you rather be a little more secretive, like, hey, don't talk. I don't want guys to know my secrets to how I'm getting these quarterbacks ready to go. Do you like that access that we're allowed now?
I think from a viewership standpoint, I think it makes it incredible the way that it opens doors to the huddle and lets people that have never been in the huddle, never been on the sideline talk, have never heard everything that's going on. It's reality TV with young men that are pursuing and chasing their goals and the highs and the lows that they go through, the range of emotions that they go through with it. So once you put that microphone on, honestly, once the ball gets put on the tee, you don't even know it's there.
Right.
I mean, you coach your players. You're trying to win the game. You're not grandstanding and, hey, here, I've got a microphone. Listen to what I'm going to say.
I got to make this speech right now to get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You forget it's on.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the moment, because once that ball gets put on the tee, in your ear from the press box, you're hearing it's 3rd and 3. Last time they were in, 4-2, they went cover 1. You're going, okay, we're going to run this. Okay, first down. Now we're going to do this. Okay, field goal, punt. I mean, you're in the moment, and it's like a 3-hour where you just turn everything else off and you get in the zone, and you're just focused on what you've got to do to help these young men go win a football game. And so I think it makes for great television. I think Fox has hit a home run with what they're doing, and obviously with the success, with the ratings. I mean, the USFL this year outrated the hockey playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They outrated baseball. They outrated soccer. I mean, it just goes to show you that spring football, people will support, and some of the rules that were put in place, the go for it on 4th down after a touchdown, the 2-point play, the 3-point play, the kickoff is back by moving the kickoff back 10 yards and bringing that back into play. Just a lot of really interesting rules that I think make it more entertaining for the viewership. And I certainly think the ratings tell the tale that people like what they heard, and being able to get into the huddle and being able to hear the players mic'd up and to be able to see the helmet cams and the drone flying all over the field, which was, I mean, it was different, but it was really cool, because I think it opens the door to an aspect that a lot of people aren't privy to on a day-to-day basis watching football games.
Well, the good news is, Skip, you're still young enough where you're not an old curmudgeon yet where you'd be swatting the drones out of the sky when they're flying over anything. So you're still young enough you can appreciate the advances in technology. Although I will say, as a viewer, it is kind of odd. I was actually telling Rogers, my producer, that one of the touchdowns to Bolden, the last one, the drone's like flying right over the top. I'm like, wait, what is that thing? It's like, oh, there's the drone. It's ready to get the shot. So, yeah, I like that innovation and that kind of stuff. And I think that's what honestly, I think that's what some of these spring leagues need, right? You need to differentiate yourself from the NFL product. It's like Mike McConaughey, the basketball, you know, Mike, of course, the basketball coach at Northwestern, used to tell me all the time, the teams we struggle with are the ones that do exactly what we do, but have better players. So, we're running up and down the floor. We're fast breaking. We go play Arkansas, and they're running up and down the floor and fast breaking, but they got NBA guys doing it instead of us, and they beat the tar out of us. And I think that's where the USFL won in this, is that you're doing the same thing the NFL is, but you're adding all of these different things to differentiate it, and I think that's huge, Coach.
No, I do too. I once went to a NASCAR event where you could put on the headset and listen to the driver talk to the crew, and I said, boy, if football would ever do something like this, I mean, it would open the door. You don't know that you ever want the communication from the press box to the sideline, because there's probably some more choice language in that one. But I do think that it has made these players real, and the personality of a Scooby Wright really comes out. The leadership of a Brian Allen, the personality of the players really gets involved. And so it has been like a hard knock. Every meeting room had a video camera in it that was on 24/7. So every meeting you had was videoed and was available for reality TV. But like I said, it gave the viewership an opportunity to get to know these players and meet these players and see the ins and outs of what so many of these guys are going through to play the game, some of the sacrifices they make. And so I think it really hit home with me when I was sitting in Cleveland at an outdoor sidewalk cafe eating, and one of our players came by pushing a stroller with 4 children and his wife.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? You're dealing with grown men that want to play the game, and many of these players have been in the NFL. Many of these players have been in NFL camps or on practice rosters. and they're just trying to get a little bit more film so they can get that opportunity again. I mean, you watch Bo Scarborough running the championship game, and you say, how is that guy not on an NFL team?
Yeah, exactly.
And many of those guys will be again this fall. And that's been the product, the quality of play, the characters of the players involved, and the access that Fox was brilliant enough to open up. I think all is what makes it as rewarding as it is and successful as it was, and gives the spring football an opportunity to say, I think the USFL is here to stay.
I thought at first when you said you were sitting down at an outdoor cafe in Cleveland, I thought you were about to say a drone was about to fly overhead again. Some USFL drone was showing up. Hey, our last thing, Skip Holtz, the head coach of the champion Birmingham Stallions of the USFL, joining us on the First Choice Personnel Hotline. All right, walk us through now what happens from here. Obviously, you get to take some time off, right? You get to have maybe a vacation, that kind of thing. But what does the transition from year one to year two look like?
There's still a lot of talk about that. It was one of the conversations that was had. I asked one of the players or one of the coaches that had been in the XFL, what does the exit from the league look like? What does the offseason look like? And he said, Coach, nobody knows.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a spring league since the 80s that has been through this. And right now, guys like Brian Woods and Bruce Johnson and Fox are making decisions. They have come out and committed to 2023 that there's definitely going to be a second year of the USFL with the hub system and where it's going to be. I don't know where all those answers are going. They're talking about right now we're in free agency, so every team is allowed to upgrade their rosters from 50 to 75. So every team is in the process of adding the players right now. Many of them maybe that get cut out of an NFL camp. You're going to have an opportunity to add some of them and strengthen your team. They're talking about OTAs in October, where the organized team activities where you can bring players into your hometown and have practices with them and start to teach your new players a lot of your system, which is only going to make the product better when we get into next spring. And many players will be back. So it is definitely different than the college game, and that I would finish the season for the last 35 years in December, and the next day you're out on the road recruiting, and then you are coming back for winter workouts and organizing spring ball in January and February, and then you're talking about spring recruiting in May, and then your summer camps in June, and then your organized team activities in July and camp in August, and you go through it. You hit December and you rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone through that cycle for 35 years, and we finish here, and I don't have anything on my calendar through December. I mean, this is like, it is certainly different. I will take this opportunity to go spend some time with my children. I will get a chance to see Trey coach a little bit in Charlotte. I'm going to get an opportunity to go to many NFL camps and be able to visit different college programs around the country. And I'm really looking forward to this growth opportunity where you can see the way a lot of other people are doing it, which is something I've never really had the opportunity to do in 35 years.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this off season, but couldn't be more excited about what I just went through and the experience we just had and how rewarding it was for me and my family.
Well, it's awesome. Obviously, you know, we're big fans of yours, even though you were the big Northwestern State rival there for a bit. Yeah, we obviously always loved you, Skip, and we do appreciate your time today. Congrats, man. Championship is absolutely fantastic. And look, tell them next time that if you're going to host the entire season at home, don't make you go run and play the championship in a neutral site. You need to be able to host the title game, too.
Well, I've been back in Birmingham the last couple of days doing a lot of media and just saying my thank yous to so many people in the city. And that's the one thing that everybody got spoiled with. It was, you know, it was great having 10 games here, but why do we have to leave for the playoffs?
Right.
You know, I mean, we had 10 games there, and the people in Birmingham were fantastic. They supported it. It was a really family-friendly event to see all the families that would come out to the games and the way it was supported. Professional football in Alabama. It was a fun thing to do. And the hub system, you got an opportunity not only to get to know your coaches and players, but you lived and ate every day with 8 other teams. And so it was 7 other teams with 8 teams being together, and it was really it was a pretty awesome experience, and got an opportunity to make some lifelong relationships.
Well, make sure you let everyone in Alabama know that you have a national or you have a championship more recently than Nick Saban. All right, just make sure you let them know that. I think that'll go over well, Skip. I think that's a perfect thing to say.
I think Coach Saban has earned his stripes much more than I have at that level.
Hey.
But I'm just tickled that we were able to get it done and get across the finish line after the fantastic 9-1 season that these guys had out on the field, that we were able to cross the finish line and go 2-0 in the playoffs and win it all.
Obviously, we're very happy for you, Skipper. Congratulations and good luck in the offseason, brother.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for your time today. Thank you very much.
Skip Holtz, the head coach of the Birmingham Stallions, the champions of the USFL.